Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, welcome to a video. So this is, a bit of a bittersweet video to do, and I'm gonna do two videos dedicated to Dan Green. Today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at his painted graphic novel that he did, which was one of the Marvel graphic novels. It's number 23, Doctor Strange into Shambhala, and yeah, Dan passed away recently. I don't really know much details on that. We've all been huge fans of Dan on my channel for a long time. I've done many videos, not only on Mark and Dan as a team, Mark Silvestri and Dan Green, but really, I mean, a couple of the videos were mainly focused on Dan's work with Mark. But Dan inked a lot of different people, and was a very good artist on his own. I had never seen this graphic novel. In fact, I've only kind of glanced at it. So today, as we're looking at it, really will be my first time kind of going through it with a fine-tooth comb. Dan followed my YouTube channel and would comment, and I was really shocked when I first saw his name pop up in the comment section. And I kind of wondered what happened, and it was interesting. Is I saw a woman had posted on Facebook, and she had become friends with Dan, I think, on Facebook. She's a aspiring, I think, painter, and so Dan had been giving her advice. But she said that she lost contact with him in 2019 or 2020, and that was about when he stopped commenting on my videos. And I remember kind of noticing it and thinking, oh, it's kind of weird. Like, Dan used to comment on my videos, and I don't really see him comment anymore. So I don't know if something happened maybe a few years ago, and it set, like sometimes when your health starts to crumble, it can uh, you know it's just really difficult to say. But I thought that was weird because I had mentioned to my friend Eddie Choi. I said, yeah, Dan used to follow my channel, and then I kind of ended it with that I hadn't seen him post in a long time, but it almost sounded like, when I said it, maybe he didn't like my channel anymore or something like that. But reading that girl's story, it synced up with kind of my experience too. So hopefully he wasn't ill for a long time, or I don't really know. But anyway, let's get into the book. And again, probably not tomorrow, but maybe the next day I'll do a video that 100% focuses on his inks. I need to kind of organize it. But I figured, this is probably a more personal work in some ways for him, because he painted it himself. So let's check it out. I did see a post from George Pratt that he was close with Dan, and there was a photo with Dan, Bernie Wrightson, Pratt, and one other, I think, artist. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, I would assume that they all kind of came up together, and I'm under the impression that Dan's wife might have been Jeffrey Jones's model for Idol, or something that Jeff did. So they all definitely ran in the same. So it may have been, maybe Jeffrey Catherine Jones was in the photo when he was younger. So anyway, so let's get in the book. Beautiful painting for the cover. There's a lot of subtleties to it that are really great. This is going to be fun to check out. So we'll go in order. This is a long book. So here's the credits. We've got J.M. DeMatteis, story and script, Dan Green art, Ken Brunziak letters, Carl Potts. And there's that. All right. Let's continue, friends. All right. Yeah, so many artists knew each other back in the 70s. It's really interesting. I was listening to an interview with, God, who was it? Oh, it was Charles Vess. Charles Vess was roommates with, who was it? I'm trying to remember. Was one of the studio guys. Might have been Barry Windsor Smith? I can't remember. Well, I've listened to a bunch of interviews over the last few days, so I have jumbled information now. I have to go back and revisit it. These Marvel graphic novels are fantastic. Honestly, like if you ever see them in like bargain bins, always grab them because there's a lot of really really great um, things that you may not actually know exist in there. Because even for me, I'm always surprised. Like I'll see one and go, "Wow!" Like they did this. Like I had no, I'd looked through them many times. I never had seen this one. People love this book. It's incredible how influential it was. These paintings look like they were almost put on like another piece of canvas or something. It's very weird. Like you can actually see the canvas, and then these almost look like comic book panels that were cut and maybe like set on top of it. I'm not sure, or maybe no. You know, they're maybe just painted onto it. Yeah, it looks like they're painted onto it. It's a little difficult to tell because the scans are kind of pixely, but this does. Wow, it's tight. All the people that had stories of meeting Dan said that he was very soft spoken and very, very humble. Um, wow, this is crazy. This almost looks like it was painted on the board. Huh. I might have to tomorrow when I start to look for original scans. Hopefully there's a few of these originals around. I'm kind of curious if it would be really neat to see these. Man, it's so tight. I assume you just tape off the panel borders and you can get that tight line. I would always think that some of it would seep under, but apparently not. I know very little about painting, so I wouldn't even pretend to know. If you're watching this video, have you seen this book before? Have you read the story? Wow, he's got a very soft touch. That's cool. These guys were smart too. They were all. I mean, you could definitely see that when I say they all, the studio guys. There was definitely an impact that Frazetta had on all of them, and like the Flegel gang. I think in general, meaning like Al Williamson, Angelo Torres, Roy Krinkle, Frank, and even Wallace Wood. I don't know if he was a Flegel per se, but they really took comic book art seriously and did it kind of more like illustrators. You know, they were definitely tapping into the quality of old illustration and doing the job correctly, meaning that they would take photos of themselves or their friends, with capes on or squatting, with a pistol of some sort and get it right, and not just kind of fudge stuff like maybe comic book art sometimes is. And there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of times these are very skilled artists that do this, so it's not a slight on comic book artists by any means. It's just two different approaches. But when you're dealing with lighting and painting or really really heavy duty pen and ink, I mean, you kind of want stuff to be it doesn't have to be accurate, but there's a level of maybe detail and nuance that is in the work that a cartooning comic book drawing might not have the same approach to. Now it's all kind of blended together just because the last 25-30 years the level of detail in comic art, because of people like Barry Windsor Smith and Bernie Wrightson, it carried over. But in the early 70s, it was more unusual to have someone be that crazy. Although I'm sure they were out there. This is cool. No idea what kind of paint this is. Someone watching it may have a better insight, but I couldn't even guess. One of the first comics that I ever saw as a teenager was Kent Williams' Blood. A friend of mine in high school was a comic book fan, and I remember going to his house one night, and we were both H.R. Giger nuts. So he had the Necronomicon book, which was always like a hit with me. I love that thing. But I remember him breaking out comics one time, and I mean, I wasn't into comic books at all at that point, like zero. It was eight years later before I even really got into him. But I remembered Kent Williams' Blood, not probably Kent Williams, but I knew the comic was called Blood, and I remembered very, very clearly what it looked like. And when I tracked it down when I started collecting in the 90s, you know, I was like, oh man, this is that book. It's made such an impression on me. Some of this looks like that. I would assume Kent Williams was using, I don't know, maybe oils? I don't know. These colors don't look like oils to me, but that's not to say much. But yeah, it's really a bummer. I wish that I would have known that Dan wasn't well. I wish that you know, you hate to do something like this posthumously, you know. But I did so many videos gushing over Dan's work when he was alive that hopefully he saw those and got at least a chuckle out of it or appreciated it. Because I really do love what he did, and it's so unique. And he really added so much to the work. You know, it'll be really fun when we do that video too. I just did an hour and 10-minute video for Patreon on modern day comics and storytelling and approaches to doing comics in 2023. Because you know, obviously we're all fans of the older stuff, but as things like technology have progressed, and you know, the demands of the job always kind of fluctuate depending on the industry itself. I tried to give a lot of tips and approaches. I'll have a link to my Patreon if you want to check it out. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos on my Patreon. Probably, I don't even know, six to 800 videos. As I say now, you'll never get through them all. People claim to have. I don't know. It would take a few years, I think, honestly. Oh, that's interesting. I'm amazed that he was able to find time to do this, to be honest. That was my first thought. When I saw it and I saw how big it was, I was like, when did he squeeze this in? Because he was so in demand as an inker. And I mean, the pace that he and Mark worked was ridiculously intense. They were doing bi-monthly, twice a month at one point on, I think it was X-Men. That is crazy. No matter how easy a page is, doing 40 pages of comic art a month, that would be a lot of work. Just filling in the blacks alone would take a week. That's cool. I love Doctor Strange's. Oh, and you know what arrived yesterday? Yesterday, or was the day before, is I got the Michael Golden Artist Edition is here. It is in the house. I've not looked through it. In fact, I did open it and I just kind of glanced at the order of things, like how it was laid out, because I really didn't know what was in it. I knew that I wanted it no matter what. But I'll do a video on that soon. I need that. They're hard to film, so I need to really like actually do a couple of dry runs to figure out how I'm exactly going to film it, because they're just huge books. It's plain and simple. I'm going to probably use my old cell phone, because it actually shoots those dimensions better than my newer one. This is a nice panel. I like this. Slowly getting back into the groove of working. It was it was the last 2 weeks of summer, and I wanted to spend time with my family before I got into another like crazy work cycle. So I decided to focus on that and just kind of end summer with them. You know, so that's all done now. Summer's over for us. Well, I guess I don't know if all schools are back in session, but it looks like they are here. That's cool. Yeah, it's really interesting. I would be so curious of how, because it clearly looks like he left these open boxes for like the lettering on the boards. But my question is did he send the layouts to the letterer and then the letterer lettered it beforehand on the board? Did he pencil it out so that he knew that he would have enough room for all the text? You know what I mean? Because that would be important. Because if you're just leaving gaps on the painting for it, if you didn't leave enough room, it could get real weird. So I'm fascinated about how this came to be. And then there is a part of me, I think that it's, I don't. Did they have digital lettering back then? I'm sure they must have. Not digital lettering, but you know what I'm saying, like, huh. This is a mystery. Unless these look like they're built into the art. I'm definitely going to Heritage right after I finish this video, and I'm hoping that there's at least one original floating around somewhere, or comic art fans. It's a pretty cool style, to be honest. Like I like how loose it is. It reminds me of some of my friends that paint now. Like Dustin Wynn gets a little bit of some of these techniques, and there's a few artists that I'm a fan of that I've always appreciated this more loosey, almost has like a Blade of the Immortal kind of vibe to it. Shambhala. This is some crazy stuff. Turning into like a Dave McKean book. Huh. Really interesting. What a trip. In a way, it almost looks like watercolor here. Like the paper looks different. Like it doesn't... It's hard to see if it's got like... I think that's canvas. It's hard to see if it's the scan. Because like in here, you can see like a little bit of like what looks to be the texture of the canvas. Oh wow, that's cool. Man, this is a crazy ass story. This is a great pose. I actually like how cartoony this is. Man, that is really nice. That's a great shot. That's creepy. Does Marvel ever print stuff like this anymore? Like, do they do like this type of work that's more, I don't know, like feels a little like esoteric and kind of out there? Oh, that's cool. Damn, man, that's nice. I like the mood this scene's got. Whoa. We've got some forest. I don't know what that is. I guess that's like branches. Wow. Pretty cool cape silhouette. And this is nice. I like the lighting on the tree right here. Oh man, that's nice. It's funny, I was thinking about this the other day. I got pretty lucky. So, like, as a kid, I moved in with my grandparents in around 5th grade. And we always had art, like paintings up on the wall at my house growing up. So I was exposed to, like, original paintings really at a young age. I mean, and obviously I'd seen them before then. But, I mean, we had at least 8 to 10 paintings always in the living room. And even stuff like Maxfield Parrish prints and... not Muka, but some other like kind of Renaissance painters and stuff like that, like prints of that stuff. But yeah, it was pretty cool, and they also had friends that painted, so that was kind of trippy too. Is like we'd get gifts, and it would be like a new painting for like the living room. So it seemed pretty normal. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember growing up how many of my friends ever had like real paintings up in their house. So it's kind of trippy. I still have them too. They're not up right now. A couple are still in the living room, but not all of them are up. But I remember as a kid, I would sit and I would just stare at them. It's so funny. I'll take photos of the two that were like the eye magnets for me. I think one's in the living room. It's pretty cool. It might I that one I think might actually be a copy of something. I don't know who did it for them, but I think it's based on a famous painting. It's a dark-haired girl with like a butterfly on her back, and I think she's holding a butterfly. It's kind of creepy and a little like I don't know. There's like a it's peaceful but like a little disturbing. And then we have one of like a street. It looked like a cobblestone walkway in like London or something like that. It was very weird, but I would always look at that because it was lit like with moonlight. That's probably where I got some of my influences. Funny enough, hard to say, but all right, let's continue. Interesting color shift on this page. I like this color. Let's flip it. I like to see it rotated. The pose almost feels like Iron Man to me. I don't know why. Like the Barry Windsor Smith did that. Is it a Barry Windsor Smith cover? Iron Man look all tangled up. Oh, this is cool. Oh, this is really interesting. You can really see his process. The pencils are still here, and he just put a little bit of paint over it. I'm still impressed by how tight his panel borders are. That is really crazy. Whatever tape he was using was damn good tape. Mine would look more like this. It would get all like weird. It's a lot of pages. You know, this is not a short gig. I don't know the timeline of when people would get hired to do these types of books for Marvel. Were they done in a particular order? Was it just like inventory stories, meaning that they kind of have writers. They go like, hey, you're gonna write 3, gonna write 3 stories for us. One will be Doctor Strange. Can you do a Hulk thing? Or they might even have just said like, what 3, like if you were gonna write 3 graphic novels, what would you like to do? Who would you like to do it with? But it seems in comics, ultimately everything seems to come down to a deadline at some point. So I can't imagine that it was just sort of like, oh, go have fun and we'll talk to you in a year or two. Um, I doubt that it was that circumstance. Maybe some of them were, but this is cool. Oh, it's nice. Man, it's a great shot. Wow. I don't really have much I can comment on this. That's interesting technique. Man, that's a scary. I've done enough like washy stuff and a little. I've dipped my toe in color a little bit, but boy, I'll tell you what. When you start putting like light value over like this kind of medium tones, oh man, it can be so unforgiving and really show up way too much. If you go too light, it can look so bad, and it immediately just looks like you put like lines on top of stuff. So you got to be really, really careful of the translucency, because it can really pop out way more than you expect. Doctor Strange about to meet some lovely ladies. Uh-oh, the time has come to test that boast, Stefan. He's like, I got this. Let's see. Dozens of Doctor Stranges fall into dozens of eager arms. Goodness. It's not for children, apparently. That's a nice face. Just like when you can see this. It was interesting. I was listening to an interview with Simon Bisley the other day, and he was talking about painting Slain and kind of how the techniques evolved for him. It was like he kind of figured it out, sort of doing that book. I think what it was is there was looks that he wanted that were too time consuming to do other ways, and so he started experimenting with painting over the pencils and just other ways to get sort of the desired finished look. This is great, but experimenting is always it's a really, really good way to accidentally figure out solutions to problems that you were trying to figure out. This is what you do. You pray to the gods of art, and then the answers come with trial and error. This is nice. Peaceful. Huh. Like I said, I don't know how the hell he had time to do this. Oops. Let me just grab this out. All right. This is nice. Nice panel. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you could have a Marvel workload and then squeeze in this. There must have been a break at some point for him. Unless he was just doing this like at night. Like he'd knock out like a page or two of whatever he had to do. And then at night he would do this. So, I mean, it's kind of, those are the sacrifices that you really have to make to in particular if you're working in comics and you want to expand what you're up to, you know, at some point you either just have to work longer days or you have to, you know, make sacrifices like quit, you know, just quit taking work and then work on what you need to do. Oh, that's awesome. Here's some pretty cool like panel legs and stuff like that. This is great. Man, this is a lot of work. My oh, it was like a spread. That's funny. Sometimes people ask, do you get paid for a page like that? You do, in fact. I've done pages with like explosions that take like an hour to ink, and you will get paid the same amount as you will a hard page. But I mean, long term, I'm sure it balances out, because there's so many pages that take way longer than you really are getting paid appropriately for. Most times, you know, an easy page or two is just a, you know, just kind of happens. It's not a, you know, big deal, but that's pretty cool. All right, so we're starting to wrap this up. And again, probably not tomorrow, but the next day we'll take a look at Dan's inks and we can enjoy part 2 of this. I thought it seemed fitting to do this book first. Again, I wasn't as familiar with this, and I don't have a lot of knowledge on painting, so it's difficult for me to be too insightful in terms of the techniques and stuff, mediums, whatnot. I just don't know, so my apologies if it feels a little light on informative content. This is nicely done. Like, how's that any different than any of your videos, Rich? Wow, wow, wow. That's cool. We got the city. It would have been really interesting to see him do more of these. Like you can kind of see some confidence and things sort of developing throughout the book, you know, where like if he did painted graphic novel every year or so, would have been really interesting to see the progress with it. This is really good start. Man, Doctor Strange is some weird shit. Oh, that's cool. That's funny. Whew. Always risky. Putting that much splatter like over like a face. And then the blue too. I was curious if there would be more splatter on this page. It vanished already. That's cool. He does some pretty fun stuff with the cape. I like how like he keeps it pretty simple, but it's nice. I like this. You can see I've got a very weird brush selected right now. It is pretty nice hands. Okay. And master, master. It's pretty good eyes too. This is really nice, actually. Damn. Cool shit. All right. So look, rest in peace, Dan. I definitely missed your comments the last couple of years on my channel. I noticed it and was kind of like, I wonder where he went. I was so excited to see that you would comment. And yeah, we'll do an inking tribute to you, and you know, my channel will always be here with lots and lots of Dan Green videos. So um, thank you. Okay, and that's the last one. All right, so look, you guys have a great day, and I don't monetize these tribute videos, so there won't be ads on this, and it's, you know, it's just for people to enjoy the art. And I'm gonna head to Heritage right now and see if I can find some of these originals, or Comic Art Fans, and see if I can find a few of the original pieces, because I'd like to see what they look like, not published, you know, meaning not in the graphic novel itself. And we'll have a bunch of other stuff that Dan inked, and it should be a really, really good show. So, all right, stay tuned and have a great day, and we'll be back. Go check out my Patreon for those all those videos that I've done over there. It's quite a resource for people interested in learning to draw or ink. All right, later.